Hello, this is Coder, and today we are going to continue our series on React. This is part two of a basic React, and we're using Code Academy. Again, go to codeacademy.com and pick ReactJS Part 1. So let's dive in. So the first thing Code Academy tells us is basically that you cannot use class in JSX. And there's a big reason why. Class is reserved in a JavaScript for something else. So in place of class, we have to use class name, camel case name, the N, capital N. And that will act like class in HTML. So this is the equivalent in JavaScript, or JSX, I should say. And that's basically what they're saying. Now we have to render something with a class name of big so that when it does render, it's I am big div. And then underneath, you'll be doing this on every file that's rendering anything that has to do with React is React dom.render, and then what you have to render is the first thing that basically you want to display, and the second argument, I should say. The first argument is something you want to display, the second argument is where you want to display said the first argument, and that's basically what that is. So we're rendering this in the element with the ID name of app on our HTML file, and we're rendering my div, which is a variable that is basically a div with a class name big, and I am a big div in between the two tags. So that's basically it. So let's move on. So the second one, well, basically they're showing you so let's see if this actually works. Let me see if it, okay, this works. So it's saying it works. Let's see what the original one was. So maybe, how do you find out, get help maybe? Oh, restart this exercise, perfect. So okay, we're gonna restart this exercise so you can see what's going on. And what's going on is, basically they're saying in JSX, if it, some HTML elements such as image and input only use one tag. The tag that belongs to a single tag element isn't an open tag nor a close tag. It's a self-closing tag. When you write a self-closing tag in HTML, it's optional to include the / immediately before the final angle bracket. So this is fine, this is fine, so this is good, and this is also fine without the slash. So these are two perfectly fine. But in JSX, you have to do the closing slash right here. This is not fine right here. So here's one thing. So we reset. I can already see just by the highlighting that article and div are in the wrong, the slashes are in the wrong spot. So we're gonna switch that off. And since it just said in JSX, this is fine, but this isn't, that's a little clue. There's our break. We got to do that slash. And same here. And that should be it. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna copy this and re-render. Sometimes Code Academy hangs, so be patient, and it is free, so let's see if that works. Okay, it works. Perfect. Now we can move on. Uh-oh. Yep, now we can move on. So far we've focused on writing JSX expressions. It's similar to writing bits of HTML, yes. And that's something that's nice and easy about React is it's pretty straightforward because it's something you've already learned if you're familiar with HTML, which you should be if you're even diving into React. In this lesson, we're going to go to adding something new, regular JavaScript, writing inside. So basically, you can write regular JavaScript inside a inside JSX, by just putting little curly brackets in it. So first it tells us, hey, start on line 5, write something that appears. So first we write this like this. And what's going to render on the right is basically 2 plus 3. Nothing crazy. But that's not how JavaScript works. But once we put curly brackets in, it basically runs whatever inside in JavaScript. And so what you're going to get over here should be a 5. There you go. So now let's go to the next. So now it's just basically telling us to add the curly braces so that this is read like JavaScript, and we'll add these two integers. So next, you can now inject regular JavaScript into your JSX expressions. That's true. So here we have this pi.js, and pi is being rendered here. It wants to be sped out here. And actually, that's not where we want. There we go. So that was in pi.js. We want to be in app.js. So it says select app.js. Okay. We want math to be h1. 2 plus 3 is equal to. The curly braces here will make it so that 2 plus 3 actually adds to 5. And that's what we want. That's why we have this. And then we want React dom.render math is the first argument, so we're going to render this because that's what's equal to our variable over here. And then we want document.get element by ID app. So basically, hey, I want math to render on an element with the ID equal to app. And that's basically what's going on. And that's why we have 2 plus 3 equals 5. And now we're still, when you inject JavaScript into JSX, that JavaScript is part of the same environment as the rest of JavaScript in your file. That means that you can access variables while inside the JSX expression, even if these variables were declared on the outside. So here is something outside, but we can inject it in our JSX. It pulls that. So that's going to print out as hello Gerdu. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But in any case, so what they want us to do is they want us to print out this inside this JSX. So basically you just take that variable and put it in curly braces, and it will treat it as if it was JavaScript and pull this and print it out over here. And that's what's going on, as you can see. And so we're gonna hit next. Pretty simple stuff. Here, what they want us to do is essentially, when writing a JSX, it's common to use variables to set attributes. That's true, that's what. So here we can see this variable set to 200 pixels, and basically, well, I guess that's not necessary. Oh, well, here, as you can see, this panda picture, the height and the width are 200 pixels. So basically, the curly braces is pointing to this value, this 200 pixel value. So this is actually height 200 pixels, width 200 pixels. But we're not hard coding it, it's just pointing to this variable which points to the 200 pixels. Down here we have something similar. We have an object and we want to access that object, the values inside that object. And so what we're doing is we're going to do pix, which is the object, dot panda, which is the key over here, and that points to this value over here. And that's the source of this image, and that's what's being printed. So that's the panda source, and then we have the owl, and then we have the owl cat, which I don't know what an owl cat is, but cool. And over here on the right, what they're telling us to do is, first they have a variable goose that points to this picture, and now they have a variable goose image, which is an image which is equal to a JSX with a source of goose, which is this thing over here. And as you can see, we have the curly braces because it's JavaScript that's inside that we want to translate. And in the React or React DOM.render, the first argument is goose image because it's an image JSX. And then the second is where we want it to render. And as you can see, we have a goose image on the right, which is awesome. Okay. Now we have event listeners, which is awesome. So we have like a simple one over here. As you can see, my function is wrapped in curly braces because that's JavaScript, but we want it to perform something. So that's why it's in curly braces. And the on-click event, on-click and on mouse over, there's like many others, and you can check it out. And they tell you where to check it out, which is here. This is it. So you got a lot of other event listeners that they have. So like on copy, on cut, on paste, and lots of other ones. So you can go check that out. But basically, this is a basic tutorial. So first, let's go to the right and let's see what they want. So on line 17, so let's go to line 17. They want us to do, originally this was 2 null arguments. They just want us to put kitty. So put kitty, which is equal to this JSX image, right? So first, let's forget the on-click. This image has a source of this image right here and an alternate of kitty. So I'll just print out kitty if it can't find this. And here basically it points to a JPEG of this kitty on the right. Now on click, make Dougie, this function has this event right here. This E is a shortened version for event, and that's why it's E. So e.target.set attribute. So let's set this attribute. So first we have the first argument is source. Second is the link to the dog or the puppy picture, and we have an alternate of doggy. And so when we run this, what's going to happen is this picture on the right is going to be a cat, but if we click it, which I'm going to do now, it's going to change into the puppy, and that's because of the on target set attribute, or basically it's just because of this function, and we're declaring that function in here in curly braces because it's a JavaScript function. And when you click on it, which says on click, it changes. So let's run that again. So basically run, and it goes back to cat, and then click dog. So awesome. And here we talk about some if-else statements, and basically you can't use if-else statements within JSX. So in these curly braces, you just can't do it. This is not going to work. This is just not going to work. And you can find out more through here and read all about why that is. And but just know that it doesn't work that way. So if you want an if-else statement, you cannot do it in the JSX. You have to do it outside. And we'll basically we'll talk about it some more here, and how you can write a conditional if you can't inject if-else statements or if statements in JSX. Well, one option is to write an if statement and not inject it. So you just write the if statement outside, which is so. Over here we have an if-else statement, but basically the if statements are just not within this JSX or this JSX right here. The if will trigger what gets rendered over here. So if user's age, user.age is equal to or greater than or equal to drinking age, well, this variable is going to equal to this JSX value over here. Else, this variable message is going to equal this one saying, hey, check out these earrings. So it got nothing to do with alcoholic beverages. And that's it. That's how you do an if-else, or a basic version of it. So here they want us, so this if.js basically just shows us how. So now they want us to go to the app.js, which is over here, and what they want us to do. So first they give us this, basically this function coin toss. This function will randomly return either heads or tails. So return.random less than 0.5, because the math.random goes from 0 to 1. So 0.5 is 50% heads, 50% tails. So if it's less than 0.5, it's heads, else it's tails. By the way, this, the question mark and the colon here, these are, it's just basically telling you it's a ternary operator, and it's basically a poor man's if statement. So if this is true, do this, else do this, and that's all it is. It's just a poor man's if-else statement. This var pick is equal to kitty. So we have this object with a key of kitty and a key of dog, and it points to different places in the web to render different images, whether it's a cat or a dog. And then we can do our if-else statement right here. If coin is equal to heads, var image is equal to image source pick.kitty. So it's saying you should render, if it's heads, you should render the cat. If it's tails, image source should render a dog. And that's all it says. And so we can run that and see, and it's probably just going to render dog again, hopefully. Okay, it's still thinking. Well, doesn't matter. Let's move on. Okay. Now, well, okay. Now there's more compact way to write conditional statements, ternary operators. We kind of talked about it a little bit. So basically how it works is, if this is true, do this. If this is false, do this. And that's basically what it says here. So this variable is equal to that, blah, 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 with that if statement. So we have this ternary operator. Here's how you might use ternary operators. So you can use ternary operators in JSX, but you can't use if else statements within JSX. It's just not going to work. So basically they give you X, Y, and Z and change that to if equals, or this one's X. If this is true, then do this, then do that. That's basically all it was trying to point out. Here we're doing and operators. So this one's very familiar with basically and operators. So how this, well, I guess only appears if judgmental. Okay, so essentially what's going on is favorite foods is rendering, and only if judgmental is not true. So judgmental is a 50-50 as well. If judgmental is not true, then render this part. Else, you just basically don't render it if it's true. So we can see how that, well, we can just do that and then run it again. Maybe it won't render. Well, there, it rendered again. So basically that's end. Well, let's see. Works best in conditions that will sometimes do an action, but other times does not. So that's basically when you use it. If this is true, then do this. If this is not true, don't print that. No. So here we have map, and it does come up in React a lot, especially during lists. And so we have in our example here, or their example here, var strings is equal to home, shop, about me. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a variable, taking strings, and then mapping, and then doing a callback on that map, or basically a function with an argument, string, return, li, because we want to create a list, and put the argument in with parentheses, making it JavaScript, and yeah, returning that. And then we're gonna set this variable equal to a UL tag. So that's basically it. On our right, well, I think if we go down here, it talks about creating IDs, and that's why we have this right here, the +i, but we'll talk about that later. I think in the next one. So as you can see, we have var people, and these are our people, and we want to basically put that up front, render that on our screen. And how we do that is we set another variable called people list is equal to people.map function person, and then we want to return a list, and then we have a key right here, and this key, this well, let's forget the key because we haven't talked about it yet, but li with the person in between, and then we want to render that on our DOM like this. So we have to put the ul right there, and then render that on the app. Okay, so, and that's how we get that. Now on the next one, they talk about keys, so that's why we have it. So here we have key, And we put these curly braces because that's JavaScript again. This is JavaScript right here, and the li is JSX, so we want that in JavaScript. The person basically corresponds to the person, whether it's row or gar. And plus I basically is a number, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have a unique key for every item on your list. And why is that important? It's important in React so that React keeps track of each of these items or these people, and it doesn't give you the wrong order. So let's move on. And so over here, you can write a React code without JSX. So basically, JSX is just a way for us humans, or developers, I should say, easily write React code. Really, what's going on is every time you do this JSX, it's kind of when you're compiling it and sending it to the browser, what's going on is React actually goes, this is how React compiles it. It goes react.create element, and then div is equivalent to this tag right here. So it says, oh, okay, that's a div tag, not h1. I don't know what null is, to be honest. But the second part is what's in between these this JSX tag right here, which is imdiv. And so if you run that, is equivalent to running this. It's equivalent. It's the same exact thing. And so that's the end of part 2 of, well, it's the end of our second, it's the second part of the part 1 of JSX, or not JSX, React.js in Code Academy, and I will see you on the third part. And so that's it, and hope you enjoyed the video.